Hey guys, my name is Anthony Bandiero, attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue to Gold Law Enforcement Training, bringing you another Search and Seizure show where I answer cops' questions live from around the nation. I am broadcasting. This is on June 26, 2025, from my hotel room in San Antonio. I've been teaching here on behalf of Texas DPS, one of the best agencies in the nation. I can't thank enough DPS for bringing me out here to teach your troops and local officers. Okay, Rick, who is first? And all right, got it. Justin, you're on deck. And Rick, will you know when I start recording, will you know if I have the settings correctly or no? Hmm. All right. So, Justin, hold on. Where are you? There you are. All right, Justin.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hey, how you doing? I'll start off with love the shows. I
Thanks,
try to
man.
join every week for the past 2 years now. I make most of them, but not all.
Nice.
Um, but my question was about the deception with the
Yep.
with the entry. So the scenario is my lieutenant was saying that I was wrong in a situation of where I was trying to use deception to gain entry into a home because we had a arrest warrant for someone and we were talking to them, and it's an apartment complex.
Okay.
And we're talking to apartment complex managers and things like that. The person, our suspect, is still on the lease, but they haven't seen them in a while.
Okay.
So they have other family members that are there living inside the apartment. So I was trying to explain to my supervisor, I'm like, hey, could we go in like as a maintenance crew? Just be like, hey, can we check the air filters? We go in, we see if our person was in there, and then we can walk out. And I got permission from the mall management. I mean, not the mall manager. I'm
Yeah, the
sorry,
apartment manager.
the apartment manager and everything like that. Um, my lieutenant was saying that we weren't allowed to do that. And I was trying to explain to him using the deception, as long as we're not creating an emergency type situation, that we would be able to use some kind of disguise, like, hey, we just want to check your air filter. We walk in, go to the air filter, and then we can walk back out and to see if our target was inside of that home at that time. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, if we don't do it that way, maybe we can use the actual apartment maintenance crew, and they could be just
Well, it would be the
as
same thing though, right?
an
Right?
agent
You.
of law enforcement. Yes.
Yeah, but let
And
me just
then
go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, here it is, Rick. I think I found it, Rick. I think I found it. Okay, it's just 1 second, okay? Just 1 second, because we've been looking for the setting for this in 1 second. All right, so we fixed that. So, all right, so here's the deal. The first the law, right? The law is this: if you use deception to enter a home, the question is, did your deception render their consent involuntary? Right? We know that. So when it comes to this whole, hey, can I come in and check your filter. Can I, man, I live down the street and I just want to kind of see what I just want to come in. I mean, being stupid here. I'm like, what's the layout of this house? Is it better than mine? I'm just being dumb. But the point is, do you think that do they feel they have a choice? Yes or no?
I felt like they could have been like, no, we're busy. You can come back another time, which is very common with situations like that. Like, oh, you could just make an appointment, and like with the actual
Hmm?
maintenance crew, and they're like, oh no, you could just come back another time. We can't right now. I'm like, okay, cool, no problem.
I mean, I want to be a little careful here. What state are you in, by the way?
Maryland.
Yeah, I want to be a little careful here because I don't, there. Look, there's going to be some judges in Maryland, especially Baltimore. They're not going to like this, right? They're going to think that the government's being too sneaky. But the question is, would a reasonable person in the shoes of the apartment dweller, would they feel they have a choice to tell the person no, right? And I think the answer is they would feel that, right? I mean, if if the apartment maintenance guy knocks on my door and says, "Hey, can I?" He didn't say I need to check your filters, right? It's more like, can I check your filters?
Yes, like the what I had is like I could have used a clipboard. I'm like, hey, we're going around, we're checking the air filters, see which ones need to be changed out, kind of things
Right.
like that. And
Yeah, go ahead.
that's that's when my lieutenant was like, no, I've been doing this 30 years, you can't do that. And then I was trying to explain him, well, I know this great lawyer, not my lawyer, but a lawyer named Anthony, and he does this show, and I heard about this going through them.
Yeah,
And I was talking to one of my state attorneys, and the state's attorney said, "Yeah, you're good to go."
yeah,
But my supervisor was like, "I've been doing this for 30 years. You just recently became a detective, so what are you
yeah.
talking about?" And I'm like,
Yeah. Hey,
okay."
look, I totally get it. We do want to be cautious. You know, this is not Texas. This is Maryland, right? And so, but look, at the end of the day, the answer is this. No, I mean, at the end of the day, that lie is not so over the top like the bomb case, remember the apartment bomb? That's not so over the top that a reasonable person would feel they were obligated and they really had no choice but to let you in. We have the manager doing the water leak. I think we can agree, Justin, that that is a little different. You know, because that's like an emergency. That's like a damage will be caused by the water leak. But here it's just the whole, hey, can I kind of come in and just check things out? So the answer is that's not coercion. That is consent. It falls under undercover officer. Remember, you're at this point, Justin, you're not a known officer. You're an undercover officer, and that's a ruse that's allowed.
Yes, we are a plainclothes unit, and sometimes we do undercover things. So I mean, that's what I was kind of. I was
Yeah,
like, it. I figured we would have been good, but
yeah,
my
and
lieutenant is very weary and is afraid
yeah,
of
maybe he's
everything.
been burned. Look, 30 years in Maryland, you know, you get some training, you get some battle wounds, right, in the court process out there. Um, now, my Manny, who's a cop in Maryland, he would love to know what agency you're with, but you don't have to share it if you don't want to. This will be on YouTube. But he would like to know what agency you're with if you don't mind. But you don't have to say it though. Or you can put it in the chat. Why don't you just put it in the chat? Um, and so the other thing is Brooks says, can we can use the maintenance guy as a agent of the government? Absolutely. You can look, if Justin can do it as the plainclothes guy, he can ask the maintenance guy to do the exact same thing. But remember, he cannot ask the maintenance guy to do something that he cannot do. So either one is fine. I think that makes sense. All right, Justin. Anything else?
Uh, No, that was my main question. I had a secondary, but nah, it would have been fine. That was my main question is I was correct over my lieutenant. That's the only important thing.
That's and you just make you rub that in every single day.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, if
Thanks
you
so
want to do a
much.
career suicide, you make sure that you do that
Yeah,
every.
I did not bring, I'm not going to go back and tell him, well, you're wrong.
No, no. And look, it can we first of all, I have been doing this for a long time, and it always comes out, you know, whether we're wrong, right, or indifferent, it's all good conversation. If we're all mature about this, you know, I'm sure you're not 100% right on everything either, you know. So, but on this one, you do have the better legal argument, without question. Without question.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, brother. All right, who's next, Rick? I think you said it, right? Hold on. Devante. All right. All right, Devante, you're on deck.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Um, so I actually had one, and then I recently thought of a better one, but
Mhm.
it's I've been talking to some police officers about Steagald, about third party arrest warrants,
Hmm.
and they say that depending on the arrest warrant, that automatically gives you um exigent circumstances. And I was saying, well, doesn't Steagald say um all arrest warrants you need either exigent circumstances or consent or a search warrant to get in the home, and they were saying no, the depending on the warrant you have exigent circumstances. Is that true?
No, well, look, that's not the right way. That's not the right way to say it because the warrant itself is not going to get. I mean, right? I mean, it's the circumstances that may. In other words, with or without the warrant, just get rid of the warrant. The warrant doesn't matter here. What
Okay.
matters is, do you have agency for the person himself, right? So let me. The warrant's not going to create the agency. A warrant is just a piece of paper saying that you can go and arrest him if you have lawful access, right?
Okay, so like Yeah, they were saying, well, if I have an arrest warrant for murder one, it's that's bad enough to where I can just go get him, is what they were saying. And I'm like,
Absolutely false. 100%
okay,
false. I mean, shit. What if it's a cold case? And I mean, it's just how do you make that a rule that cops can follow? If I put that in my book, in my search and seizure book, and I say if you have something, for example, like a really heinous crime, that gives you exigency, right? And then the cop with the 15-year-old warrant for the murder that happened back in whatever 2005, whatever. And then what happens there? He kicks the guy's door. He found out that he's visiting his friend in town. The point is that's not how this works. Just the warrant is probably not irrelevant, but it's not really what you're looking for. You're looking for, do I have agency regardless of the fact that we have paper on him? Meaning he's a wanted person for a murder, and every time we try to catch him, he flees. And we know if we don't get him now, we won't catch him again anytime soon. That's the type of thing that we're talking about.
okay, sweet.
All
I was
right.
right.
Hey, you and Justin, you know what I mean? Knocking it out of the park.
All right, sweet.
All right.
I guess I'll let you go.
Hey, awesome. You're welcome. And what state are you in, by the way? I like to know what states.
I'm in Michigan.
Okay, cool. Nice. If you want to, hey, if you have an agency out there that hosts training, think about us because we're actually looking for more Michigan hosts. So I don't know if your agency does host training or some of your sister agencies around you, but consider us in dropping the word. Okay.
Okay, I can go talk to my local agency.
Yeah, but you have, if this is what you guys do, if it's like, nah, we're not really into the hosting game, then maybe somebody else is. We can, still come out there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I do want to try to get Justin some case law real quick. And here it is. Let's see. This is one case that I have here. Let me see if this will help. No, shit, that's not it. Let me see about this one. Hey, Nick, if you're on the line here, can you help me find some case law on this? Okay. We're looking for just using ruses to get into a house under consent. Okay, and Mike is on deck. Mike. I don't see a Michael Emmerich. Is Mike M here or did he leave? Mike. No, I see a Mike H. I see a Mike R. Okay, Brooks. Unless it's up here. No. Mm-mm. All right. Hey, Brooks. And then while I talk to Brooks, here's your time, your chance to get your questions answered by a real attorney, a search and seizure expert. I don't charge a penny for this. It's the best price in town. I give you guys good advice here to try to do the right thing. So who is next? We have Brooks. Who's going to be next? And I think Manny always has a question for us. But wasn't there a civilian that had a question? Right? Wasn't there somebody, a non-law enforcement officer, or did they already ask that? What's up, Brooks? What's up,
Hey,
man?
can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
What state are you in?
Oh, we're in South Carolina,
Nice. What you got?
North Charleston Police Department. So, can you unarrest someone?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. You want to get, well, look, I would love to kind of squeeze a little bit more data out of you. Do you have any example or do you want to share a scenario or no?
I was just told you can't unarrest someone. The other day, I'm like, well, if you get a little bit more information, or if you decide that, hey, I'm not going to take them to jail, I'm just going to cut them loose and with a ticket or something like that.
Yeah. So can I expound on this a little bit?
Sure,
Um,
absolutely.
Not only, Brooks, can you unarrest somebody, but in certain situations, you have to unarrest them.
Have to, yes.
Let me give you an example. There was a case in New York where the neighbors are calling in that there's a burglary in progress, and they arrive at this like apartment building, And they're like, "Hey, look, this guy, he's trying to break in, he's trying to break into this apartment, and and the guy's like, I live here, I don't have my keys, type of deal, right?" And the cops don't believe him, and so they arrest him and they bring him downstairs. They put him in the white and blue, right? Not the black and white, but the white and baby blue car. And then the super shows up. And the super is like, wait a minute, that guy, he lives here. He's the new tenant. And the guy's like, yeah, I forgot my keys. I'm just trying to like, get inside and so forth. And they, of course, they unarrest him. Now, the reason I know about that case is because the guy sued NYPD,
Right.
and he said that that was an unlawful arrest to begin with. And not the Supreme Court, the court in New York said that this was PC, that they had a fair probability that he was burglarizing he didn't have his key. People are calling in saying he doesn't belong here. We don't know this guy. And then the super shows up, and of course they arrest him. The other thing I was going to tell you, Brooks, is discretion, right? Sometimes, like, you'll arrest let's say a teenager for speeding, right? Or reckless driving, right? Speed contest.
Right.
And you're like, look, you're going to jail, right? And then the parents show up, and you're like, dude, the parents are going to be worse than jail, right, Brooks? I mean, especially where you're from. You have some good parenting out
Absolutely.
there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you're like, man, the parents are not going to play this game. They're going to beat his ass. They're going to teach him a lesson. I'm not talking about abusing him, but they're going to discipline him. And
At
you
least
think,
30 years ago.
huh?
I said at least 30 years ago, that's how it went on.
Yeah, of course, absolutely, right. The good old days when kids actually got disciplined, and discipline is very positive for all kids. And now we have to if you don't discipline your kids as children, then who has to discipline them as adults, right? Police, because I'm not saying discipline, but they get in trouble. So the point is that the parents show up and you're like, dude, this is not worth it. Then we're also the parents are good people. I was gonna tow their car. The kid was gonna go to jail. They don't need, this not, they'll get the ticket and then you unarrest them. That is lawful. Okay.
Right.
That is absolutely lawful. You're allowed to use discretion to unarrest people when you think it's in the interest of justice, when you're interested in the public safety. I'll give you one last example. One more, because I like you, Brooks. Okay.
Thank you. I like you too.
Yeah, there we go, man. You arrest this dude. You're like, you're going to jail, no doubt about it. And then boom, the call comes out, shots fired. I need backup. Send the whole cavalry, and you unarrest this guy. You tell your coworkers who are saying that you can never unarrest people. What are you gonna do in that case when this is just, and the guy's not drunk. It's not like he's gonna get back in his car and kill anybody. He was arrested for shoplifting. I'm just making it up. He's arrested for something that we can follow up later. You can absolutely unarrest him, kick him loose, and go answer the call for service. So the point is, and then also Shallon, which I don't think I'm saying that right, but maybe Challen is saying that in California they actually have a code to. Now California obviously is not where you live, but it's just an example of it's statutes. In some statutes they actually have the authority to unarrest people. So we're good. We're good.
Nice.
All right, next question. That was a very good question. I hope I answered it. So this video will be on YouTube for those who want to watch it later. All right, who is next? Matt. All right. What's
Can
up,
you hear
man? Yep.
Hi. So I had a question. I'm in Texas, and I guess it's kind of a state question, but it might apply to other states too. But when it comes to the authority of peace officers to make arrests without warrants, in Texas we have a whole list of things that we can make an arrest for, any felony, any offense in our presence. And then there's a few other ones like the family violence, protective orders. And then when it comes to misdemeanors, it's down to have to be committed in our presence or view. And then there's a few, one of which is more broad, just under like disorderly conduct. And then there's a line that just says breach of peace. And I was curious if there's any. I was looking and I couldn't really find a definition for what breach of peace is, and I was wondering if there's any case law or any legal standard for what constitutes that, because there are certain offenses that I could think of where we might roll up on a scene, let's say like maybe like a criminal mischief, where the the act has already been done, but maybe the person is still there, and it's a misdemeanor, but didn't actually happen in our presence or view. Could we consider that to be a breach of peace if, say, someone was like throwing rocks at cars on the highway or something like that? So I was looking, I couldn't really find any, if there was a definition for what that is.
So, and look, I mean, breach of the peace basically is disorderly conduct, right? I mean, I'm just like a breach of the peace is you're disturbing. It's a safety issue. Let's just put it that way, right? But it's basically disorderly conduct. Now, disorderly conduct, I think, is was it 14.01? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, and so breach of peace, or I'm sorry, disorderly conduct is very specific, and it does have several offenses that fall within it, but
Okay.
it doesn't like, for example, criminal mischief, I don't think falls under that category. That was just one that popped into my head, because I have seen situations like that before, where let's say you have some kids that are, smashing apartment windows or something like that, and you show up and the kids are still there, but they're not actually doing it anymore, but you've got video footage, or you've got witnesses, or you've got people saying, hey, it was them right there. Is that something that we should just be, every time we should be just going and getting a warrant?
Yeah, I mean, right? I mean, unless you can make a citizen's arrest. Look, here, let's just answer. So first of all, again, like breach, it all depends what the code is. And so many people are bringing up like common law and so forth. We'll talk about that. But so the statute is what? Disorderly conduct, 42.01. It's fight in public. It's making offensive gestures, abusive language, that type of stuff, creating unreasonable noise. But the problem with, the problem with your scenario is that this malicious destruction of property occurred outside of your presence, right?
Correct.
You cannot arrest for that because, I'm sorry, back up. I'm sorry. You're saying that in Texas, disorderly conduct is one of the exceptions for warrantless arrest? Would not
So, I mean, I'm looking at it right now, and it says, authority of peace officers. Of course, you have felonies and all that, and then it says, felonies, and then it says, comma, chapter 42 penal code, which is the disorderly conduct chapter, and then it says, comma, breach of the peace, or any offense under 4902, which is public intoxication. So it kind of seems to separate them, separates disorderly conduct into its own category, felonies into their own category, family violence into their own category, and then breach of peace, it just kind of is thrown in there, almost like,
what is this? Where is this at? Texas what? Texas criminal?
Texas criminal Code of Criminal Procedure 1403.
All right. So let's. All right. So, arrest without a warrant, right? Offense within view. If the offense is classified as a felony.
14.03.
Okay. So hold on. So one says if the offense is classified as a felony or an offense against the public peace, a peace officer may arrest an officer without a warrant for any offense committed in his presence within his view. Okay. So again, or against the public view. All right. So,
I think I see where you're looking right there, a little further down, 14.03, little, like halfway down the page is what I was looking at, section 1.
Okay, just give me 1 second here. All right, where we left off here is we pulled up Westlaw, we pulled up Article 1403 under Code of Criminal Procedure in Texas, and we found that breach of the peace is one of those things that you can arrest without a warrant. Okay, and it's felonies and breaches of the peace. It does not state it has to be committed in your presence, and I think at this point I would have to say that that it means some kind of disorderly conduct. And you got this case right here, but this would take probably a little bit of research to find out what exactly they mean here. What's this one right here? No, there's a lot of DWIs. I don't know why that, but All right, look, I got to be cautious here because I was hoping to find that silver bullet, Matt. And but if you email me at Anthony at Blue to Gold, I will try to find you an answer. Okay? Because
Sounds good.
I want to know the answer too. I teach a lot in Texas, and I think that I want to know. So I think that's it's worth for me to do that too. All right. So
Sure.
email
Sounds
me.
good.
Let's see if we can come up with an answer on that.
Awesome.
All right. And then who's next, Rick? Let me see. Oh, Manny, my boy Manny. All right.
What's up, brother?
Yo, 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 yo.
Yo, yo,
What you
what's
got for
going
me?
on? Hey, man, I got a question for you. This is definitely not a Maryland question. It's
Okay.
actually a New York question.
Oh,
My,
that might be a hard one.
it might be because my best friend, my boy, he's NYPD. So
Mhm.
we were together like 2 weeks ago up in New York with a couple of his NYPD friends. And I'm telling him the like how we do interdiction down here. Like, me personally, I do passenger side, put
Mhm.
them on, and talk to them there, multitasking. If I have a good backup officer, they'll help me
Yep.
out too. But that's how I do it. And they're like, yo, the questions you're asking. Then they're like, yo, that's illegal. And I was like,
Mhm.
no, it's not. And he was like, nah, because we have the DeBoer factors. DeBoer says you can't do that because level 2 is
Mhm.
accusatory questions, and we can't ask that unless we have reasonable suspicion. I was like, you
Yep.
can't ask someone, travel plan, like not travel plans, but like,
But hey, do you have
hey,
anything illegal in the car?
anything illegal in the car, or anything. He's like, no, you have to be at level 3 for that. And I was like, but level 3 says Terry stops here. There's not a Terry stop. I mean, technically it is. I mean, you're stopping, just motor vehicle stop, whatever the case is. But anyways, I'm like, you guys can't be like, hey, is there anything illegal in the car? Any weapons or contraband, anything like that? While you're like doing like an interviews thing.
Yep.
But they don't do like traffic stops like that. I guess not because New York City. But
Well,
uh,
also, yeah. Well, New York has the DeBoer factors.
and he was like, yeah, man, we just have to. I was like, so where's all these videos I see of cops, NYPD cops jumping out on people? Like, is that level 3 already? And they're like, yeah, most of the time. And I was like, all right, I don't know if you can. I don't know if he. I was trying to tell them about Blue to Gold, and they're like, what is that? And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. They
you're
don't. Yeah, they don't. They do. Look, I mean, NYPD. I mean, they are insulated. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
and that's a lot of problem with the big agencies is that and the reality is that they look at a guy like me and they're like, why would I need a guy like him? We got 100 attorneys that just work for NYPD. We are good, but of course I try to say, well, this is my specialty, and I teach things in a certain way that cops get. A lot of these police advisors are not trainers; they are just legal advisors, and they sometimes don't understand what's going on out there. But as far as like what the cops are really doing, but um, so going back to these DeBoer factors, the first thing is that New York is the only state that actually does not have 3 levels of encounter. They have 4, right? So under the Fourth Amendment in most states, besides New York, there's 3 levels. There's consensual, there's reasonable suspicion, and there's an arrest. In New York, there's a fourth. The first one is a consensual encounter with no accusations, in no insinuation that they may be involved in criminal conduct. Meaning, this is like it's almost like a witness. That's actually probably the best way to say it. Is that level 1 is a witness. Um, why can't you call that consensual encounter? The reason why is because you cannot. If it's a consensual encounter, fine. But if they believe that they are under suspicion and it's like targeted suspicion and that they may be in trouble, then that you cannot do that under consent. You actually have to have some level of reasonable suspicion. That's what he was talking about, right? So
yeah,
yeah, you can't go in New York. You can if you think somebody's up to criminal activity and you can't put your finger on it, you can't just take a hunch and go up to that guy and say, "Hey, how you doing, man? It's kind of odd for you to be in this alleyway at 2 o'clock in the morning. Huh? Like, what are you up to? Like, do you live near here? You can't do that in New York unless you have some level of objective suspicion. Now, it probably is not as high as reasonable suspicion. They have a little bit of a reality there, but it's more than a hunch. Kind of weird though, right?
Yeah, it blew my mind. I was like, wait, I know about the board. I didn't know like the in depth about it because I don't work there, so it doesn't really matter to
Yeah.
me. But because I
Yeah.
was telling them all the stuff we do, and I was like, it's legal. I mean, Fourth Amendment. This is how we keep it. Thing. We're not extending the stop, and they were like, nah, man, we can't do it. What? He was looking at
Yeah.
me crazy. Like if I was doing something wrong, I'm like, no, 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 no. It's New
Yeah.
York.
It's
New York, I do things way different over there.
Hey, you want to hear another weird one? So look, we have the if I remember my DeBoer factors correctly, it's been a little while since I taught back there, but the first one is true consent, witness style, they're not in trouble. The next one is that you think they may be involved, but you have to have targeted suspicion that they're involved in criminal activity before you can ask them something that is like, that they'll make them feel guilty, that they're in trouble. The next one is your Terry stop, and then the last one is your arrest. But it's weird, man. It's weird. Oh, but here's the funny one. You ready for this? So
Sure.
so passengers are not free to leave in New York. In other words, if you tell a passenger to stay and they stay, then it's lawful. And you ready for the twist? Unless they escape, unless they run. If they run, you cannot chase them unless you have reasonable suspicion, but beyond why they're running. Did you just catch all that? Does that make any sense to you? So
No.
if these guys are dumb enough to stick around and the cop is slow enough to not catch, you can tell the guy to stay, and he's like, okay, I guess I got to stay, right? But if he's smart and knows the law and he can actually like leave and run away, then the cop can't chase him. It's it's
Yeah.
it's how do you work with that? But and look, it's a very, very wild place back there. I guess that's what you get when you're 10 million people living on top of each other. You get weird rules like that, but it is what it is. Okay.
Yeah. They don't even have like. I was like, hey, do you guys call for a canine to scan cars? He's like, no, we don't have that. I was like, what?
Yeah,
The
they don't.
biggest city in New York, the drug hub of probably America. You guys don't
Yeah.
have that?
No, but I
But
think outside of New York City they do that. Tr
yeah, definitely.
Trevor breaches of peace occurs when a person's conduct is such as interrupt the peace and quiet of the community. Okay. So look, Trevor actually is dropping some case law. So I think we're going to take that. And then also Nick found Redmond versus States talking about extreme ruse or extreme deception is what you need is unlawful when it comes to deceit. Was that about right? Justin, so you got that. So um, okay, and Nick, do me a favor. Can you save those cases so that I can see them and I can add them to my database? All right, Manny, you have anything else before we call it a day?
Um, no, I was gonna bring up the dude was asking a question about like unarresting people.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mhm.
We where I feel like our agency does it a lot is DUIs. We cite them, we
Mm.
arrest them, search incident arrest, bring them to the precinct, intox, and then
Yep.
we release them from there unless they're like subsequent offenders.
Okay, only thing I'll say that's not quite a good analogy. And the reason why is that is basically they're being released after booking. In other words, that what just happened there legally is really no different than them going to jail and being out the door before the cop is done with the report. In other words, they have been arrested. It's not unarrested, usually refers to, well, okay, yeah, maybe, but it's really not. The unarrest implies that you were going to take him to jail but you changed your mind, right? That's only a little bit. That is just
Yeah,
that's a
I agree.
standard booking and release. That's a standard booking and release. Um, all right, so cool. Look, you have anything else, Manny?
No, I'm good, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Okay, man, you're awesome. So, guys, this is all I have for you. If anybody wants to ask a last minute question, Rick, what do you got? If anybody wants to ask a last minute question, okay, let's talk to Jeremy. What do you got, my friend?
Hey, Anthony, I appreciate you taking a minute to take my call.
Absolutely.
Appreciate all that
Absolutely.
you do. My question's pretty basic, doesn't necessarily come from any particular scenario that I've got, but really just kind of a point of discussion that I've been having with a lot of my coworkers. I'm out of Utah, by the way.
Okay.
At what point does a suspect lying to you become obstruction of justice?
So, okay. It's a very good question because the feds, they have this rule where if they notify you that lying to them during an investigation, this is Martha Stewart, by the way. That's what happened to Martha Stewart. She lied during her investigation of stock. What do you call it? When you manipulate the stocks, insider trading. She was involved in insider trading, but they end up getting her on lying to the FBI, right? But most states, and I can't talk about Utah, right? I don't know your laws that well, but I can just tell you, generally speaking, I don't ever see cases on this issue. I don't see cops like, let's say the person gives you an alibi that's totally BS, and you can prove it's BS. That hey, oh boom, you're arrested for obstruction. Usually the obstruction is for something material like their identification, right? Um, so but not because they lie to you about their criminal involvement. And so, and I got to tell you, I think that's the way it's supposed to be because cops lie to people, right? They lie to people, but yet if they lie to us, it's not, we arrest them at least at the federal level for a felony. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I will tell you, I will take the opportunity since I'm allowed to at as many years I've been doing this, is that I fundamentally think that's unfair that cops, and you can disagree with me if you want, but it's absolutely unfair that cops can lie to people and make up, hey, how can you explain your fingerprints are on scene? Do you know that we have a witness that put you at the scene, right? We can do all those lies, but if they lie about something at the federal level, they can go to prison for 5 years. I don't like it. I think it's unfair. I don't think that's really. I just don't. I don't like it. I think it's fundamentally unfair. But lying to you about their identification is a legitimate obstruction because they're delaying your duties, and that's my answer. That's how we operate in Vegas, and I don't know if that helps you at all. But in Vegas, we cannot arrest them for lying about their criminal activity. We can only arrest them about lying about their identification. So that's what I got for you. I'm
I
not
appreciate
sure.
that.
Yeah, does that help at
Ultimately, I,
all?
I do agree with you. That it's been a point of questioning. Some guys around me like, oh, they lied to me. I can charge them with obstruction. I'm like, I don't know if you can because we can lie to them. So like,
But show me that case. Show me that case where in Utah, right, where the cop says, "What street were you walking down?" He says, "I was walking down Main." Aha, you're walking down Central. You're under arrest. There's no, I'm sorry, but how do you think your courts would put up with that?
no.
Right? That people go to jail because they lie to cops. What do they actually have a legal requirement to tell the truth? Where is that? What law in Utah or Nevada or Texas says that if you talk to cops, you must tell the truth? Now, obstruction means obstruction of official duties, right? That's where I have let's say stop and identify law, and you have an obligation to identify yourself, especially, and you lie about that. Well, usually because I can identify you anyway. Like you're supposed to identify yourself. Um, but in Texas, I'll tell you, in Texas, passengers do not have an obligation to identify themselves. Of course, right? They have done nothing wrong. But if they open that mouth and start lying about their identity, then the cops can arrest them in Texas. But they couldn't arrest them because they said they were staying at the Holiday Inn, but really they were staying at the Motel 6. There's never going to be a case on that. It would never fly, in my view, and the courts would see that as not official obstruction. Um, so in New Jersey, part of our hindering charge is providing false information during an investigation. At what point do you think it's becoming false information? I think that if it's look, this is it's going to be. I actually have something on this. I actually have something on this. Stay right there. Hold on, because because New Jersey does not have a stop and identify law, but I use the obstruction to. Here it is. So let's see what. Let me put this. This is kind of. Oh man, come on. I'm trying to paste something in here. Hold on. Um, Here, this is what I got here. So in State versus Williams, New Jersey, 2007, the court ruled that obstruction under 2C, colon 29-1 requires proof of purpose of to obstruct, impair, or pervert the administration of law or other government function. This means there must be an intentional act of hindrance, and a mere non-cooperation or refusal to provide information alone may not meet this threshold, including just lying. Issuing a summons would suffice, right? In short, an individual in New Jersey can be arrested for obstruction if they fail to provide identification when lawfully requested by an officer, as long as he or she has a legal reason to request identification. Failing to provide it can be seen as an attempt to obstruct their duties, especially when it's needed. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's, man, you asked a really good question, Jeremy. I'm not. It's probably one of the best questions I've been asked in a long time. It would also be some research, but I think at this point, my best advice on this podcast is that when it comes to obstruction, this is legitimate obstruction. This is like, of course, like lying about material things and trying to lead you down the wrong path, right?
Yeah.
But most lying or delay or wasting my time is not going to be obstruction. They can play games, okay? They can play their little games about where they were, their alibis, their BSs. They're not going to go to jail because they told you they were not at the house last night. It has to be more legit. Yeah, that's what I would say.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That actually helps quite a bit. Thank you. Kind of putting that in a little bit of context.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad I could help.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome, brother. All right. Well, look, that's what I got for you. I'm glad you guys were here. Congratulations on my gun winner. And I'll see you guys next week. And that's all I got. All right. All right. Stay safe. And if you guys want to host Blue to Gold, you know how to reach us. Please do. Training at blue2gold.com. I'm also going to ask that you guys follow us online, especially our YouTube channel, our Instagram, the TikTok, where I do lots of dancing, the OnlyFans. All that place is a great place to follow us, Blue to Gold. All right. All right. All right. Cool. Thank you, guys. We are off next week. Okay. So I'll guys see the week afterwards. All right. All right.